Welcome back to Sippin The Dry. I'm Sean. I have Nate today, and officially spring has sprung, and it is time for panfish, ponds, and micro poppers. I love it. This is my favorite time of year. I get my gear out, I get it all opened up, I get it all rigged up. I am ready to go sling some bluegill. It's so good.
Well, fishing for panfish really gives Christmas a run for its money.
I think so. I get out of the house. The winter's over-ish. We're in Ohio.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're in Ohio, you got an extended winter.
At least 2 or 3 weeks, for sure. Absolutely. All right.
Jump right in?
Let's get right into it. I can't contain myself anymore.
So, fishing for panfish, generally you do it in the pond, right?
I do. Every puddle has a panfish,
Especially
in
in Ohio.
Southwest Ohio.
Yep.
I can almost guarantee it.
Most abundant fish in Ohio?
I would say so. Did you know that they can interbreed with each other? They don't necessarily have to stay bluegill, panfish. We can get all kinds of variations depending on what pond that you're in. I thought that was amazing.
What kind of examples of species do we have?
Pumpkin seed, I know for one. Then you have warmouth, bluegill. Oh my gosh, long ear. Isn't that what they're called? I believe. Looking around it, we're coming to you live from the warehouse today because the front of the shop is being used for other things. So I'm more comfortable back here, anyways.
Well, we have an audience, so.
But we have an audience, so if that's why we look a little bit different, scenery's a little different. That's why.
So, when it comes to fishing for bluegill or panfish, however you want to call it, that's one way to really get, an angler with what they would call, wet legs, not waiting, but brand new to the sport.
True.
You get them hooked because you're always going to catch panfish.
Literally.
It's the best way to get them into the sport.
And, I mean, like I said earlier, you can get out. It's the beginning of the season. I can get my rod out. I can get my lines. I can rig everything up. I can work on my casting. We all know I don't cast the best anyways. So if I can get out and practice my casting before I have to go out with the guys at the shop, it's...
Yeah, and not only improving on your casting, it helps you, learn how to set the hook on the fish, and also teaches you a little handling with the fish.
How to land the fish.
Yeah.
Which is, it's good for kids. Mm-hmm. I think so. I think this is an excellent place to start for children, just to get them out there. I mean, it's a beautiful Saturday, Sunday afternoon. You go to the local pond. Where's the local pond? You know. I know you do.
Right down the street.
There's 1, 2, 3 down the street.
Every corner in Ohio.
Exactly. I I love it.
That's why you got your son Lucas fishing for panfish?
I do. He doesn't fish as much as I want him to, but
we all got to play Fortnite here and there.
Exactly. And I'm guilty of playing with him, so that's
okay. So with panfish fishing, you can pretty much do it with any kind of outfit, any rod. Doesn't really matter. Yep. But, the optimal rod, in my opinion, would be a lighter weight.
Absolutely.
Here we have in front of us
1s, 2s, 3s.
Yeah. We got my Sage R8 Core. It's a 3-weight. On it, we have the illustrious Bat and Kill. And the Rio Creek 3 line, which pairs quite nice with
floating
the rod
line.
itself. Yeah.
Floating line. Yep.
And, having a lighter weight rod just, kind of makes it feel like you're having a bit more of a fight with the fish.
You're fighting that whale.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I first started, fishing, the guys at the shop, they handed me a 7-weight rod and they said, have fun.
Yep.
And so for the longest time, I spent, countless hours in the pond right by my house fishing for panfish with the 7-weight rod.
With the 7-weight rod. To be fair, we are kind of mean to each other here in the shop. We're not mean. We're just, you'll learn.
Yeah.
I started with a 5-weight glass, so I completely understand. A little bit of a learning curve. I don't suggest beginners start with a glass. It's a little wet and noodly, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And it's not really good. It's not really good for beginners, I would say. What's a good package for a beginner? I would say an Encounter, Clearwater, Foundation.
Yeah.
Anything in the 3, 4, 5 even.
Yeah, 5 would be a good all-around rod because you can just
9 foot.
You can fish for more than a panfish with a 5-weight. And along with our Ohio ponds, we got largemouth bass as well.
Oh my gosh,
they'll kind of bite on whatever you throw out there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they're predatory just as well. I mean, you see them chasing around bluegill all the time. Like especially now, we're coming into May and it's spawning season, so they're all starting to make beds and.
Yeah, that
everybody's fighting for space.
Water temperature is getting to be the optimal. I think it was from like 65 to like 70 degrees, something around that, temperature range where
True,
they're
yeah.
they're gonna get comfortable and the spawn's gonna start.
Yeah, and they spawn 5, 10 feet off the bank, so it's really not hard. You can kind of come up to the bank and see them, and just kind of target fish them, which
Oh,
is what's good for kids
absolutely.
because kids can focus like, hey, there's the fish, I gotta catch it. Then they catch it, crazy look on their face, they love it. Now they're hooked. Now they're using your Winston rod, and they're slamming it in the car door. I'm joking. I hope that doesn't happen to anybody out there.
That happens.
It does happen.
But when you slam it in the car door, you wouldn't believe how big that fish was
It
when
was
you broke it.
it was huge. The fish, the car fish, Subaru. We're not sponsored by Subaru. I'm sorry.
Call us, Subaru, if you need it.
That'd be great.
So, another thing with panfish pounding, as some would say, an optimal fly to use. What do you got for us today?
The micro popper,
The one and only.
both weed guard and unweed guard. My favorite, personally, I like the black one. It's up here
Black
up
one's
top.
good.
It's good. I mean, it mimics a bait fish and it stays on top. I love it, and you can't beat it for me. What about you?
I would say by far my favorite is the bumblebee.
Ooh.
It's just overall a super fun fly. It's real loud and out there.
It is very loud. It's very yellow.
Yeah.
The tail is yellow, and it's got little legs on it too.
It's really easy for them to see, especially with that water's kind of.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like early spring, if you take this guy and you throw it around lily pads, and it's got that weed guard, it'll just pop right over them lily pads. I bet you can get a largemouth jump right on that.
I think I have 1 or 2 times.
Bluegill are just gonna shark it. How many bluegill you think you can catch on this before it's absolutely destroyed and you have to change?
Hundreds.
I was thinking, I don't know about you, but I'm catching the big bluegill. I'd say about
Oh,
six,
yeah.
7, 8.
I don't know what that is.
I'm gonna
like
have to change. It's so good. I'll get you on them.
Really?
I'll get you on them. Yeah, down south they have brim, which it's a variation, and I would say I don't want to say they're twice the size, but I mean they're considerably bigger. It's like a dinner plate on the end of your 3-weight, and it is a lot of fun, if I do say so myself.
That actually, begged a question that I'm very interested in finding out. 15 inches long is the record bluegill?
We're record bluegill overall. What about in Ohio? Where we are in southwestern Ohio.
12.75 inches long, 3.28 pounds.
Over a foot long.
That's incredible.
That is amazing.
That's a fat
I bet that
one.
was fun.
Oh, 100%.
That had to have been fun. That's amazing.
I guess you got to pull out the 7-weight for that one.
Oh my god. It's like a steelhead of the pond. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. I wish I could find one of those. You probably have to raise it, I would say.
Think so?
I don't know, man.
They don't happen naturally like that?
I mean, if you're around here, I fish a little place around the corner, Spring Valley, and although big in there, they're not a foot and a half big.
They can live to be, quite old.
Really? I didn't know that.
The average is 5 to 6 years. I think they can live up to 10 years.
Panfish live 5 to 6 years. Wow.
On average.
I absolutely didn't know. I assumed 3 years, so that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And do they continue to grow, I wonder?
That's a good question. They probably do.
Probably with space going. I don't want to say goldfish, but
Yeah,
cichlid.
just don't flush it down the toilet.
Probably bluegill in the sewers already that are monsters. That's where your state record is in the sewers.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
joking. That's
Casting
the
down the
conspiracy.
manhole.
We won't even get into that today. So what, Nate, do you use? I see you brought your pack here. What do you use?
So I brought my San Juan pack. It's generally a chest pack, but I kind of just, wear it around, so.
Like a sling pack.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay on me when I fish. I get to my spot and I just toss it on the ground. What also I have here are my hemos.
True. Because
Loon.
they're gonna swallow
Yeah.
the poppers, any of the dry flies that you're using.
Yeah, they will. You're definitely going to need the hemostats for that because they're just going to take
They're gonna choke it
right down.
Yeah.
Also, within my bag is my large fly box.
Oh my goodness.
I got my dry flies right here, and then my popper selection featured with 2 bumblebees, obviously.
Just in case one goes in the tree, right?
Yes. Well, yeah.
That's the 865.
And also in there we just got some leaders, but this is, just goes to show how little stuff and gear you need to
True.
get, fishing ponds, which, some beginners might find, intimidating when they get into fly fishing. They're like,
There is
do I
a
need
lot.
waders? Do I need boots? What all do I need?
I need this specific rod, and I need this specific line, and this
And,
specific reel.
it can get real expensive real fast.
It can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to start there. There is lots
Yep.
of awesome packages out there that are already pre-made, pre-spooled. We have them all over our website, the Orvis Encounter, Orvis Clearwater, the Foundation. I think I mentioned all three of those earlier. Perfect beginner, perfect panfish, pond, micro popper, pounding, a lot of peas. It's great. I love it. Those are good.
Yeah.
I use a regular sling pack. I have an Orvis sling pack and one of the older colors that they have, but I keep that on me all the time, walking around with it.
Yeah, another good thing with a setup that you can have for fishing the ponds is that's the kind of setup that can just sit in your car.
Absolutely.
This right here in my car, in my backseat, all
Like,
times. And if
same.
I see a pond that I'm allowed to fish,
Very true.
and a body
no
of water.
trespassing out there. We
Yep.
do not condone trespassing.
I pull over, jump out of my car, and get a few casts in. And if I'm casting a micro popper in the right weather, I'm getting one.
Right, weather, right, wind, direction.
So what rod do you use?
I mostly, this is going to sound really terrible, but right now I've been on a kick with my Winston rod. I have a 906, and I love it. But going back, I think I started like you because I also walked into the shop years ago not knowing a thing.
Yep.
So Bluegill was kind of my start off. I started with a 907 Clearwater rod as well that came from one of the guys he's not here anymore with us. He's still alive, please. But he doesn't work for us anymore. He moved on to bigger, better things. But he started me out with a 907 Clearwater, and it was great. It was a little stiffer, but it definitely taught me how to cast on the river and in the ponds. So, it was easier to get my little small fly out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good thing to bring up is, when I first started working here, I'd never casted a fly rod. And so, the guys here, they hooked me up with some hand-me-downs and said, it's the
Yep.
pond.
That's how we
See
do
ya.
here.
Go to the pond. And, I've
play.
spent countless hours on the pond, and it's really improved my game.
That's true. And I hear you have recently moved into the streams and the creeks.
I've graduated.
I love it. That's
I'm
so
moving
good.
up. Yeah, so I've recently been, expanding my horizons beyond ponds.
Beyond the pond. Beyond the pond, the Nate story.
I've been fishing creeks, and I've been learning, how to fish dry flies. So
True.
that's been a fun adventure.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I love it. And you're right behind me. I mean, not to say you're behind me in any ways, but you are right
You better
behind
watch
me
out. I'm making my way.
You have been fishing exponentially more than I have this year already.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think I've gotten out more than 2 or 3 times, and that's just with weather and
Yeah, I mean
everything. Hasn't worked out for me.
It's been pouring down all week, and right now we're getting some torrential rain.
Pouring.
Live
currently.
forecast from Dayton, Ohio.
It's
Heavy
72 and pouring down rain, so all of our rivers are going to be blown out. But that brings up a really good point. This rain can come down, and when it stops, those ponds are going to be right back ready to go, boiling.
Yep.
Boiling ready to go. You might not be able to fish them streams or the rivers around here, but your pond and your local pond, they're going to be ready to go within what, a couple of hours? Let it drain
yeah.
off. Yeah. I mean, if you want to fish in the rain, go ahead. Absolutely.
I've done it a few times.
I have done it to get away from my responsibilities. I'll go fish in the rain if I have to. But
yeah, I understand.
Absolutely.
That. And definitely those bluegill are gonna be like, we're the micro popper.
they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're just looking for food.
So a little scientific tidbit about bluegills and why they're looking at the micro poppers. Well, actually, that brings me to one thing. A micro popper. So when you pull it and it does the boop, boop, boop.
The actual popping.
Yeah.
Bloop,
So
bloop.
that's emulating, a bug or a bait fish or anything in distress.
In distress on the
so
surface.
They're going to see that and be like,
Break
oh,
that tension up on
yeah.
the surface.
They're like, oh, he's hurt. Go grab
Easy
it.
prey.
Yeah.
Easy prey.
Another part of the bluegill's diet is zooplankton.
Ooh.
And that's a little microscopic organism. And zooplankton, live close to the topwater where they feed on phytoplankton, which is a microscopic plant. And so that kind of shows you, you got the phytoplankton, the zooplankton, and then the panfish, and
Yep.
that's why they're looking at
It's
that
the food
topwater.
chain.
Yep.
The food chain of your local pond. I bet you didn't know you were going to learn some science today. I didn't. Thank you.
Science rules, man.
It's true. It's true.
So, what's that?
This right here, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching at home or if you're listening, I have this beautiful trophy with a marlin on top and bright flames down the side. It's about 1.5 feet tall, and it is the Sean Esterline Panfish Pound Off Invitational. This is our workplace competition that we have in the spring. We haven't done it yet this year because of the,
It's been cold.
the weather not cooperating with us, but we will have this competition soon, and it will be the most and the biggest.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
We got a bit of a point system that we have, and any viewers at home, feel free to do this with your friends.
Absolutely.
Each bluegill is a point. A largemouth bass, I think that's minus a point.
That's a
or
minus
5 points.
minus 5 points based
And then,
on size too.
What's the other one? You automatically win if you catch the carp. If you get a carp,
If you catch
it's
the
an
carp,
automatic win.
Yep. And we are allowing this year to use dry flies, not just micro poppers.
Yeah, you can
as we've
use-
done in the past.
You can use any fly you want, and another rule that we have is the rod you use has to be a 4-weight or below.
Or below, absolutely.
So the R8 3-weight is perfect for it.
I am ready to clean house when we have that.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
I absolutely.
Yeah, you win. It's bragging rights and the trophy for the next year.
Till the next year, yeah. And then you get to tell everybody. We'll do some kind of shout out when we do it.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Oh.
You got anything else to add?
Nope. Switching gears, just real quick, backing up about the panfish. What are we doing when we come down to the river, or come down to the pond, or what are we looking for when we're looking for these bluegill? And I really want to get my son, or you want to get your kids on one. What are you looking for?
Well, generally, you stick towards kind of like by the bank, and there will sometimes be like little parts where they curve off. And it gets kind of deep there, and
Shallow.
you can always cast over there, and in my pond in particular, there's a spot where there's a bunch of vegetation growing up, so I can't cast directly on it. I kind of gotta position myself over there, and they love that spot.
Yep.
Because there's a little bit of shade, a little sun going on there, and it's a good place to start.
I like it. I also, when you are casting, because you mentioned, you had to turn sideways and kind of aim under the trees, because most ponds are surrounded by, trees or bushes or something like that. You can really just kind of toss your fly out there. I hate to say just kind of toss your fly, because you should always try to get a nice cast, but finish out the cast, because even though it looks bad to you, it might be perfect, something that fish has never seen before, that they're going to go after it.
A fly on the water is a fly on the water.
Yeah,
So
that's
as
good.
long as it's on there, it's all good.
Finish it out.
Yeah.
Always finish out your cast. That's one thing that I try to share with everybody
Yeah,
that I fish with. Is even though it doesn't look good to you, it could still look good to the
That's a
fish.
pretty good point. You don't need to be launching a ton of line.
Nope.
You're not aiming for the other side of the pond. Although, it's pretty cool if you can
I
do
mean,
that.
yeah,
but-
everybody else now, for beginners, if you're just now getting into this, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. When you go out to a pond, your local pond, not a lot of people see a lot of people, especially, I don't know about you, in my area, in my experiences, people don't fly fish
Not
out on
really,
ponds.
no.
So I'm out there, panfish pounding, and people are watching me like I am crazy. And they always come up with tons of questions and all of that. So
Yeah. I always get weird looks from.
What are you doing? Are
the
you
spin
ribbon
guys. They're
twirling?
Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just making myself look like a fool out here.
yeah. Well,
I
It's
backcast
fun.
and
that's
it's
one
stuck
thing.
on the hill behind me. And these guys are looking at
God
that.
forbid somebody's having a picnic behind you and you're like, oh, excuse me, I'm going to watch my backcast.
Yeah, the poor couple is going to get raked
A
by my
micro popper in your glass of wine, and nobody wants that.
Oh, that actually be a pretty cool drink. You make a mixed drink and you have
And you
micro
put the
popper on the side.
That's our next business venture. Here,
We'll look into that. We'll get back with you guys on that drink. We got a mixologist somewhere here.
somebody here. Well, all of us could be mixologists. I would say so. Not saying anything bad about a mixologist.
No?
Well, sir, is there anything else? Because I literally can see the rain stopping, and I want to go fishing while I still have a little bit of time left on lunch today. So is there anything that you want to add before we jump on out of here and hit the pond down the road?
I think we hit all of our talking points, and we can probably close out.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I would love it if you, my right-hand man, would close us out.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today for Sippin The Dry podcast, the episode Panfish, Ponds, and Poppers. If you are, watching this on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have any suggestions on what we should talk about or any questions at all, and we'll be very happy to answer.
Yeah.
And if you're listening on Spotify, feel free to rate us. That'll help us out a lot. And we were looking at our analytics, and we couldn't help but notice that we have some fans in Germany.
Which is awesome. I mean, holy crap.
Guten Tag.
That is so cool.
So, yeah.
Please shout us out. Tell us where you're from, where you're listening from. I mean, when we started this a couple weeks ago, not to hold us up, I'm sorry.
You're good.
But I wasn't aware of the amount of people that we would reach with these podcasts. And it is actually astonishing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so I would love, like you said, to just know what you guys want to hear us talk about.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And if our German friends are just listening to, hone in on their English skills, we apologize.
It's true. Yeah, you do not want to listen to me to learn English.
But listen to us to learn fly fishing and anything at all.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.